When Link gets an item from a chest, an NPC, or a drop, the game uses the lookup table pictured here to figure out what item he should get. Each entry is 6 bytes long, the first of which gives the item value. With SRM, we're able to change a chest's offset from the start of this table. Now normally, the table is this long. It would end here. However, the index to this table is 2 bytes long, and with each entry being 6 bytes, that gives us a whole lot of memory that we can cover. So we can get way down beyond the bounds of this table. Most of what's down here is static data. It's always going to be the same, and it's always going to give you the same result. However, if we go down a little ways, you can see that as I move around in-game, there is some data that's actually changing and that we're able to control. The one that I have highlighted here would be the item value corresponding to a get item value of 112E. And this address is determined by a mix of the camera angle and the current analog stick input angle. Now you might recognize this as the same thing that's used to control GIM with a Zelda's letter chest in OOT. So manipulating this address will allow us to collect any item from a chest, but we're actually going to be more interested in this one over here, which turns out to be a little easier to work with. This one is determined by Link's interaction with walls and certain types of collision. What it does is it appears to give a relative angle between Link's velocity and the normal vector to the plane type surface that he's interacting with. So for instance, if we run up against this treasure chest, if we do it straight on, it has a value of 0. If we go straight backwards, it becomes 8000, so it becomes negative what it was. And if we go in at some oblique angle, it'll become the relative angle between those two. And so the nice thing about this is that by interacting with a surface, we can set this to some value, and then if we've set up our chest SRM correctly, when we open the chest, the first byte of this angle will be the item value that we get. And the second byte controls a flag that's used to determine whether the item in the chest should be replaced with a blue rupee or not. I'll have more details on exactly how that works in the description, but the upshot of this is that since we can manipulate both of these bytes, we can make setups that ensure that we do not get blue rupees. The other nice part about using this address with SRM is that the addresses that follow it are all 0. And those are what determine the text that displays when you get an item, as well as the item model and the object file that the game loads. And if you just give those random values, they all have the potential to crash. But luckily, since all of those are just sitting fixed at safe values, we can get any item we want out of this chest and not have to worry about the game crashing. So now let's see how this works in practice. Here I've got a BizHawk movie where I've already done one of Full Grown Gaming's SRM setups. It's going to be Link's angle that's writing to the chest contents. In order to use the addresses we want, we need an offset, and therefore an angle, of 1134. So now we'll do a setup to get that angle. So we get in this corner over here, and we're going to do 1 ESS turn right, and then use target to center the camera. And then we're going to pause, and we're going to hold full forward input. And then we're going to walk until we hit this frame. When we pause, and out of pause we hold a full right input. And then once we get to this frame, you can see that Link's angle currently reads 1134, as it should be. So if we pause on this frame, we can just release everything, and then we can put the chest down. So now we have the luxury of getting any item that we want. Let's say we wanted to get New Wave Bossa Nova. That has an item value of 6.3, so we need to have that as the high byte of our plane collision angle. In order to do that, we can set up a directly opposite angle, which would start with 1C and then move backwards from a plane. And it turns out that we can increment our angle by an amount starting with 1C with 4 ESS turns left, so we'll do that. So we stand and target the chest. You can see we don't have New Wave Bossa Nova yet. And we'll back up, we'll do 4 ESS turns. You can see now when we interact with the chest, we have a collision angle that starts with 1c, and then when we hold a direct back input for a few frames, we're going to get an opposite angle to that, which starts with 6.3. And so that's going to be the item value, so we open the chest. Now here I've been careful about the second byte of the collision angle to make sure that we did not get a rupee, and you see that in fact we did get New Wave Bossa Nova.